in a
Relationship, situationship.
just in a setting where your significant other was referring to you and she referred to you as my nigga, or then
Yeah.
the way I'm saying is funny. I know.
I think it's just so
You're first of
sexy
all,
coming from you.
also you're saying it like you've never said it before. Like there's a little hesitation.
I don't say it.
That's hilarious. Okay, I mean, all right, that's fine. Listen, we don't have to get into your use of the N word, but so
Yeah.
if I'm in a relationship
Oh,
with someone, if I'm dating someone and they use that word with me like
not with you.
casually,
Let's say they were with a group of friends.
uh,
You were or with not with them, and they were referring to you, and they referred to you as my nigga.
how is it like they're introducing me and they're saying this is, or is it like just talking about me? Like if they introduce me as that, that would be kind of weird.
Either, yeah. Okay, so that one's weird. What about the other situation?
If it's just like casual, like I'm with my nigga, like I'd probably be okay with that. Like I don't. If someone was like, okay, this is my group of friends, and she said this is my N word, now it feels
No,
weird because like
wait.
now it feels weird. Now it just feels
Like
wrong.
specifically points to you and says that.
It's mine.
Wait, but like, but but let's say you guys were in a relationship.
hmm
How would you feel with her referring to you as that? Like when you're in a committed relationship with her, how would you feel about being referred to
Um.
that way?
Okay, so let me just set like I would imagine that it has to be a type of person where like culturally that well, first of all, it has to be a black person. Second of all, that has to be a part of their
Maybe?
I mean, well, I'm not into race play. So,
Not even talking about that. There are other races out there who definitely use the N word just like we use the N
true,
word with each
true.
other.
Yeah.
And so you
With
can't
me though, I hear you. That is a fair point. If someone is using with me, one, it has to be a black person. Acknowledge their blackness, like like that type of thing. I'm not saying you have
Not a
to look
weekender.
black, but like, right, not a casual, fly by night black person, but
I,
legitimate black person. So, um, if that was like the environment that they're in, like I'm picturing now of the type of person that says that is very comfortable in their skin, very comfortable around these people, and they understand what they would mean by saying that's my nigga right there. Like I would probably be okay with it. Now, if we're in front of, and this maybe is problematic, I guess I don't like using that word, but like if we were in front of like my coworkers or like a setting of people that we're not comfortable with and don't understand the usage of that word, I'd probably feel awkward in that setting. But like I get what she means if we're comfortable and it's appropriate and it's the right time. Does that make sense?
Oh, so you're saying, yeah, it makes sense. So you don't have any like inherent like discomfort with it being used like describing you like to others.
No, because
Like
like I've been in
inherent in the word, like just like I don't want to be referred like the same way we were talking
no,
about that like that female has become more derogatory.
no. I don't feel like that's like
Yeah. Okay.
minimizing me in a sense. Is that like kind of minimizing
Yeah.
in a sense? I
Yeah.
don't feel
You
that way
as
about that
a
word.
partner.
No,
Okay. All right.
no.
so
Not
now
because
that
this is
this
my
is dec-
this is my dick piece right here. Like that would be like a little weird. Like if she
not
just
that
made it
this is
about
directly relatable, but this kind of touches honestly along the lines of on the lines of what I had sent you guys about the those where the people write into like newspapers or whatever, like Ask
mm,
Sally or whatever.
advice
She
columns.
yeah, she asks if and they write to Kiera
Don't choke on
Kardashian.
it.
Yeah, and I'm trying not to. Um, and it's like a combination of a philosopher and Kardashian tweeting, and they ask if it's okay that they're uncomfortable with, like, I guess it's two girls in a relationship or two women. Um, the one woman is uncomfortable with her partner requesting the other call her a slut in bed. and what she should do about that, because internally she like feels like she should take like a feminist stand, and not allow for that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. um and the response back is basically, you make a good point, but like, maybe you can find a word that you're more both comfortable with or something. And the thing, it gets into funny. If you have a chance, anybody listening should read it, because it gets into you know just the banality of existence and stuff like that. But basically she talks about, well, it's understandable not to, want to get you know tongue tied about that stuff when you're in bed. So I was wondering, what you all would probably respond to that person.
Who wants
I'll
to
go
go?
first.
There you
So,
go.
because I'm just like, my initial reaction is like, keep your politics out of your bedroom and you'll be fine. Just thought. Like, when I'm having sex with anybody, male or female, I'm not thinking about their stance on feminism. Who cares? I mean, just me, hot take. It is what it is. But it's just like, dude, like, you're supposed to be having fun. You're supposed to be relaxed. That's a good suggestion, though, to find an alternate word. If it really is like
Yeah,
when
like
you
if
get up
they
and it's like, oh
suggested
my
like
God,
my
I just
boo.
can't get past it. And like your whole experience is like gone because of it. But like at the same time, like I would encourage that person to like get out of your head. It's not that deep.
Have a cocktail beforehand.
Something like
Get
eat an
loose.
edible, something. Some push-ups. I don't know. Like release whatever's going on.
Push-ups.
Because for you to be worried about her
I
stance
need to
on
try that.
feminism, like you should be worried about a lot of other things, not her stance on feminism and yours too. Like I don't know.
Yeah. If
Yeah,
it makes, I would say, if it makes that person like the person who is being asked to say it, it makes you like that like inherently uncomfortable, and I would say you should have a discussion. You should let it be known that you're uncomfortable saying it, because then like you want to stay in the mood, and like obviously they're giving you permission, so they're comfortable with it. But if you're uncomfortable with it, then figure out another word to use.
Before we go
yeah.
on too far, anyone that's watching who's a regular viewer of the show, you notice we've got a guest here. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
One, um, thank y'all for having me.
Of
I
course.
am a friend of Kamal's. We did AmeriCorps together 100 years ago, aka I think almost 7. And honestly, we've been rocking ever since. And I'm also a big fan of the podcast, so happy to be here. You know,
Yes, one of our like 3
Yes,
viewers, so definitely
yes,
appreciate your weekly,
yes.
views.
and I'm
We
happy for
gotta
it. Y'all got me
appreciate it. We
through train
appreciate it.
rides. Like y'all don't even understand. Like I'm like, okay. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's Kanye episode. I don't know if Kamal told y'all. I was like legit hot. I was like, I like texted him like mid episode, like, you really? Wow. Like, wow. We had to reassess our whole friendship. Like, I thought I knew you, but
Mhm.
wow. So
We learned a
We
lot of
might
things that episode.
yes.
we might need to do that one again.
No, I think that one was so good. Like, and is the
I do
episode
it.
gonna really be
Play back.
different? Is the
It might.
end
But
result? No.
one thing, it was missing songs. Um, the
Here
breakdown in
we go.
rankings was different. All right. Let's stay on topic. Thank you, Lynn, for being here with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank y'all
Um,
Yeah,
so
it's
with
exciting to have a guest.
for having me.
So with that, we are releasing this episode to come out the day after Valentine's Day.
yeah,
So
in the
a lot of the topics that we
Saddest day
discussed
on
this week.
the planet.
Saddest day. That's a little dark. Um, so we're going to be discussing a lot of topics that deal with relationships and dating and things of that nature. Um, so I guess we'll roll right into it. Kamal had shared a video with us a couple, well, however long ago, talking about body counts. Kamal, you want to get into that? Like
yeah, it
recap.
was brief recap. It was the idea about the relationship between men and women and their sexual histories. So generally the idea was saying like the addressing the standard of what women having multiple partners, or being single and sleeping with different partners and how it's treated culturally and socially, as opposed to men who sleep around or sleep with multiple partners. Um, and I guess the idea is, I guess the main question was, does your number of sexual partners count, matter to you when you're dating someone, when you're planning to be intimate with them? Does it matter their body count, basically?
And for the viewers out there, Kamal, you touched on a little bit, but like Mike said last time we talked about it, body count referring to the amount of sexual partners a person has, not the amount of people they have murdered in various ways.
Clarification.
Yeah.
Different
Yeah.
contexts that could mean totally two different things. Talking about
So
teardrop tattoos or condoms.
Right.
so I guess let's go around and I guess
Say our body
um
counts. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, if everybody wants to be that open, we can do that. But generally, let's. I want to ask how, like, would you guys feel about someone who has a high sexual partner number?
I I feel like I'm personally in a bit of a unique situation. Um, I haven't had a lot of romantic partners, so at times I think, is it more beneficial to me to be with someone who's way more experienced than I am, or is it more beneficial to me to be with someone that's at my level, just that maybe we can learn together, go through that process together, right? So to a degree, like would I judge someone for having a high body count? I don't think so. But if I'm being honest with myself, I'm probably going to be concerned. Like she's on level 40, I'm on level like 7. Like what if? And that's just me being in my head. Like not to say that I've had bad reviews or anything, but I just know that this is sex and those types of intimate moments. Like time is value. Like the amount of times that you've done it and the amount of experience you have in tricks and all those things. Because I've been with women that are more experienced than I am, and I see the difference. And I've been with women who are at my level, and it's different. So like, as far as judging them or feeling like, oh, I can't date this person because they're this, and that, that hasn't stopped me. So I would say no, I don't feel any particular way about it. But there is something with me personally, like, okay, how am I going to approach this from my end?
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
How would you approach it from your end? I'm curious.
Sorry.
Uh-huh.
How would you approach it from your end? You get a woman who has
I
double your body
mean,
count.
yeah.
It shows. Then, like,
Mhm.
what is your plan of action? What do you do?
Um, learn, like, ask questions. I mean, but that's kind of like how I approach it. Like, I mean, I'll use this was a real life thing for me. Like, I've one of the first people that I dated was older than me by a couple of years, had more experience than me, like just naturally. Um, and it was we talked about it. We were like, hey, like we acknowledge that you're in a different place now than I was, at your age or whatever. So like we had that conversation of, you know, we acknowledge you're going to be learning through this and I'm going to be ahead of you, but we talked about it. We were very open in our communication and like, listen, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, or this is what you should do, or this is what I would want you to do, like those types of things. So for me, it was like a learning experience, having someone who was more experienced than I was. And I'm not one of those people that's like, uh, I'm self conscious in a lot of other things, but not in that. Like if I can learn something from somebody, like I don't care. Yeah.
And what a thing to learn.
Right. I mean, if we're gonna learn something, that's one of the things.
Yeah, I
What
mean,
about
I don't really think it's a big deal either way. If somebody had sex more with more people than I did, then which I've dealt with, and I've dealt with the opposite. I don't think it's. I don't really think. I think it's like kind of along the lines you're saying. Like you meet the person where they're at. If you really like somebody, if you're really into somebody, honestly, like when you're alone, intimate, like those things seldom come up. And I mean, they come up. I just mean like outside of you like expressing your intimacy with them. Like, you're not
Mhm.
going to stop you're not going to say, okay, wait a minute, I've had half the sexual partners that you did or none, and we need to turn it down accordingly. Like, like that doesn't happen.
that means they're gonna be twice as good. So you're gonna have to
Right.
I
Need you at
love
about
the
so
math. This is
70%.
the only math I can really get behind when I'm hearing sex math.
like I need
Yeah.
you to put your sexual skills on like down to level 5 so I
Yeah,
can
we're just gonna have to dial it
keep up.
back a little
Put
bit.
back just a
Right.
little.
That leg thing, like I can't get with it. I don't stretch that way yet. It's like beginner yoga versus like advanced.
Right.
It's very much like.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of this. I just feel like it's such a taboo kind of thing. Like, and I mean, especially with the stuff that you had sent, Kamal. Like, society puts different pressures on women than men, and men for forever it's been okay to be, like sexual beasts and stuff, and like the whole idea of a man growing up is to not be weak, be strong, and you know be flirtatious, take
Yeah.
over, you know, all the sexual relationships and be the strongest male around and all that stuff. And I mean, that I feel like that's getting a little less commonplace as we go into the future now. But um, I think the societal pressure is still the same on women. But you have to remember at the same time, like back in whatever time you want to name, like just going back to Bridgerton, for example. Not that that matters really, but I mean,
You
that
love
was
that
all
show.
that they had.
Good show.
Yeah.
It's
What'd
Yeah.
you say?
Part
a good show.
yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed it. It's like just to think about it. Like that was normalcy. Like,
Isn't that crazy?
like yeah.
And like even after she was married, her mother still couldn't bring herself to say the words. Like these
Oh
women
yeah.
were literally being married off as children. And
Mhm.
then she's like, but I don't understand. How do children happen exactly then? We just lay in bed? Like they literally had no
Yeah.
idea of the mechanics, nothing about what happened first, what happened last. Like it blew my whole mind when I watched it because it's like to imagine growing up like that. Like, and the same, like I grew up in the South, right? So like my parents were very much like I didn't get the talk. My mama tried it, but by then it was too late. It was a wrap, and I'm just like no one talks about sex to girls, right? So I guess
Right.
like to throw my like 4 or 5 cents in there, body count for me it's always a topic like I don't talk about. I don't ask, so I don't have to tell because I don't feel like it's a conversation. Like I don't know. As a woman, also it's interesting to hear y'all and y'all's like approaches to body count because it's like, oh well, it's okay if they. But it's like as a woman, it's like you just assume that they're gonna have more than you. So it's like you don't get the option to be like,
Mhm.
oh well, that's shit. No, so it's like 9 times out of 10 before he got to you, he had 5 other girls times whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like we don't even get that like privilege, if you will, of being like, you're not good. Like you're tainted because I know you've been
Mhm.
smashing half the school or what have you. Because like even those boys get married. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Yeah. That's a good
So
point. Yeah.
wait. So but I guess that doesn't necessarily address. So if you knew your partner, if you knew your male partner had like, let's say, I'm thinking something,
500.
not 500.
Wow. Shooting
Let's
for
say he
the
had 10.
stars.
Let's say he had 10 times as many partners if you
Dating
that
Wilt
you have had.
Chamberlain out here.
right.
Let's think.
No, he
Let's say he
was
had 10.
10,000.
So let's say this guy or person had
10 times
75
as many.
partners.
Yeah, let's go
75
with
is a
that.
fair number. At 30, I'm 30. For you to have 75 partners in the last 30 years of your life, and assuming you weren't fucking for the first 17, 18 of them, that's a smooth, consistent slew of partners, correct? It wouldn't really bother me. Like, more experience means I benefit. Like,
Mhm.
so long as like you aren't bringing in, like my first thought is always like health. So it's like so long as you aren't bringing in anything that can't get gotten rid of, what's the problem? You know?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
with a lot of these we want to like we'll assume that like health is has been optimized and like it's not an because like obviously if they're like bringing in like poor sexual health history into the relationship then
Mhm.
like that you obviously male or female they're not there's more of a stigma to it, and there's less it makes things a little bit more complicated, right? Um, so I
Eh,
guess on top of that, what do we consider? You said 75 partners by at the age
30.
of 30. Like what do
Can
we
we do the
consider?
math on that? Because I want to see. Let's
That's
say,
not
all right.
that.
So your benchmark was you said you start around 17 or 18, right?
Yeah,
Let's just use 18 for the sake of easy numbers.
cool.
That's 12 years of sex. Good math,
He's
Pete.
like ready to do the numbers.
More sex math.
That's,
I love that. No one told me this episode's gonna have so much sex math.
this
Here
is
for
the name of the episode will now be sex math.
it.
That's about like six. That's what, six and a quarter partners.
6.25 a
Yeah,
year.
six
I'm
and a
just
quarter.
trying to think of like what that would look like as a tattoo. Sex math. It's just like a penis like humping a number.
Oh, I have a math teacher who would so be into that. We had this whole thing in high school called sextangula. She was a really
I don't
sexy
know if that's
girl.
okay.
It was a whole thing. Meanwhile, we learned our prime numbers.
They had to
Talk
close the
about that
school.
No,
He's no longer a
we'll talk
teacher.
about that
Pete.
later.
There was an investigation.
Right.
Sextangela, she was hot. But wait, how many partners is that? Come on.
6.25 partners
Wait,
per year for 12 years. So
That's
For
that's like
12 years
that's
straight.
two
six
partners a month
partners and
though.
the six
That's two
partners and
partners
like
a month.
2 blowjobs. That's like or oral or whatever. Like,
oh wait, that brings up first thing. Yeah, that's not that bad. 75 is not that bad.
6 in a
You
year,
just
and
said
for
come
me that's a lot.
off.
For me that's a lot.
huh.
I personally couldn't manage 6 partners in 1
Oh,
year.
one every
Well,
I
this
would
was
That's what
I
it
would
is.
combust.
this
But like, wait,
you would
well, like,
combust.
but that's different because I guess that also depends on your mentality. Like, if you're someone who's a like serial dater
Hmm.
and like serial relationship person, then
Right.
like, yeah, those numbers are a
But
lot.
not even a serial relationship person, because like some people just like casual sex, right? So if
Yeah.
you're on Tinder or whatever, and you're just in it for the hookup, the one night, that type of thing, like I could see it.
Hmm.
And I think 6 is a reasonable number. Don't get me wrong. Like I can definitely see people having 6 partners a year, but I'm saying for me, that's like I would never be in that situation.
Oh, for sure. Well,
Yeah,
That's what
I
I was
haven't
gonna
had 6
say though.
partners
It's
in my
not
life.
to
So
me.
I
It's not
can't.
always like it's not
Wait,
about.
I can't convince you to sleep with women that actually like you and want to sleep with you half the time.
Okay, well, all right,
So
okay, all right, all right. Come
I
on,
was just
are we taking the gloves off? Just let me know right now.
it's okay.
Just let me know right now, because I will
can
come
I
for
just
you.
get in between this? I get it. Yeah, and I just my point is like I think the the count is not necessarily like indicative of what you can or can give to a partner. Obviously, like obviously like your in the bedroom skills or whatever aside. Like to me, like it could almost be more hurtful if you know that like someone's like been engaged once before, like like had like deeper
Mm,
relationships. You know what I mean? Like if you had a bunch of sex partners, it's like okay, yeah, but like it wasn't none of it was serious, and you could get past that. But like some people, I feel like, or even for myself, I would I know that I've been through this before, and I'm guilty of, um, you know, like being with a woman and feeling like lackluster in the relationship because I know she's had deeper, like, or deeper or as deep relationships in the past. I think, like, if it's indicative of having multiple, like, serious relationships, I think that could be also almost
mm,
worse in a way.
That's interesting. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that like them being married before or something like that, engaged before
mhm.
can be. Yeah,
And maybe they
but I
didn't even
think,
have sex. Who knows?
or even, oh, God forbid, like um if they had like have a child or anything like that, that can be
Right.
daunting as well. It can be. But I think the whole like the idea around the body count, it goes to this idea that like the way we uh, well, society has often attached a woman's value or her
Hmm.
reputation based on her sexual purity, right?
Hmm.
So like they're higher value because they're pure. They haven't been uh they yeah they haven't
Tainted.
been tainted.
Meanwhile,
Yes.
everyone's like, but I want a freak in the sheets and all that bullshit. It's just like,
Hmm.
so like the girl said in the video, right? Where do you
Yeah.
think women learn how to be a
Right.
freak? You think we just like
No.
go to class with like books and shit, like notebooks?
Yeah.
No, like you have to
And
go
so
out and practice. You have to go get experience. So if you
Hmm.
want that woman to be that woman for you, you have to accept that it's got to come from somewhere.
the
You know,
expectation is that the penis goes inside and the woman is suddenly imbued with all the
all the
experience with
power, all the
every
knowledge.
porn star, every
If
porn
only
scene that's
worth
ever happened,
it.
and
Funny
then
that
she's doing flips and she's doing
Hmm.
like special hand maneuvers
She's
and things
doing
meanwhile,
like
you
that.
guys just
flips.
stand there and just look stupid, like, "Oh, okay." And then I move here now? Great.
Okay,
Bugger.
so
Yeah.
so going along that vein, right, where like the expectations are so different. We had another video that we talked about where like how people are raised differently, whether they're male or female, boys and girls, right? Um, so at what point then is it just we because we kind of said, well, it's a societal thing, and yes, it is for sure. Like we talked about Bridgerton and how like there's these specific roles kind of just placed on us, right? But at what point do we say, well, okay, I may have been raised this way, but I'm going to take you know, the opportunity myself to say, I'm going to approach this differently. Like as a woman, for you, Lynn, like as a woman, were you raised in an environment that kind of set you up to be a certain way and then you made the decision to go another way? Or do you still follow that path from your upbringing?
Haha. So my memoir will be out at the end of the year if you really want to
Oh,
know.
nice.
But nah, like so watching that video really like was interesting to me. I have a younger brother. We're only 2 years apart. So being raised pretty much, right next to each other. And I always give people this example, right, of our life at our house. We had like a floor and a half kind of house situations where my brother and
Mhm.
we had the bedrooms upstairs and the bathroom and then the attic. And then like my parents, the rest of our house was on the first floor. Basically, so essentially G and I were upstairs by ourselves. There were plenty of times when my brother, because he was a boy and was given the full freedom and like just like the exuberance, if you will, to like have all these girlfriends and whatnot in middle school because like, he's like right behind me. So I'm talking like
Mhm.
I'm in middle high school, he's in like late middle school. He had all these girls in the neighborhood. He would have to go see, right? So my little brother would leave the house for hours, right? And be like, Lynn, all right, so if anyone's looking for me, you can cover da da da. And he's my sibling.
Mhm.
This is what we do. There's always get back on the other side. But on the flip side of that, y'all, I would be in my room, literally minding my black girl business, reading a book because my dad he took on television, so I didn't have TV. And there was niggas in their plaster of Paris and like reading, listening to music and shit, minding my own business. My daddy was calling me, Geraldine, like yelling, screaming for me, and I have to go run down the stairs to his room. Yes, daddy. Oh, I just wanted to see what you was up to. Not a
Right.
goddamn thing,
Yeah.
sir. Meanwhile, you
Right.
have to ask one time about your son in the last 4 hours.
Because you out there
So
putting that
that is
work
my
in.
life. Like, so
Daddy's
that
proud.
experience,
Yeah.
that is pretty much what it's like. It's like he
Yeah.
was literally roaming the neighborhood. So he even got
Mhm.
caught in everything, right, y'all? And like, but literally in the house in height, like people wanted to know just where I was. And I'm like, but you know where I am. I'm the same place you left me.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's the
I just
experience,
wonder, like, is it in and I don't know. I'm asking really, like, is it for some people? Is it inherently because they think that girls or young women should be raised differently, or is it like are they just maybe like um acting out of
Fear and
fear
concern.
of the
Yeah.
unknown, concern? Yeah, like, are they just,
Mhm.
are they just playing into the hands of like what society has in turn taught them during their growing up years?
I think it really comes from a basis of fear, unfortunately. And like, I don't know, like I feel like for a long time because I have a brother, and like while I was having conversations about slips and stockings and getting fussed at because my ass jiggled when I went to church, like that was my fault, and I didn't know what to do about that, right? But my
Mhm.
mother and my grandmother would make it a very big deal about all the men in church who were going to apparently attack me because I was being distracting and I was gonna fuck up the whole service because
Right.
I didn't want to wear a slip, right? It was all my fault. At the end of the day, these old men had nothing to do with it, and it's like, but that's what because that's what my mom and my grandmother were taught also though. And I always would push back and like, but like, so who controls the old men from staring at me at 14, 15?
Hmm.
Who doesn't, because I'm 14, 15, I don't want to wear a fucking skirt. It's hot. It's in New Orleans. Like, whatever. And it's like they should be the ones being held responsible for their actions, not me. And I've always felt that way. But because that is just not that's just not how, unfortunately, women are taught. Because, like, also, especially, I feel like women of color, and I mean, like, not to discount non-women of color and their experience in this regard at all, because, like I said, like women's experiences are indeed are more ubiquitous than they are not in a lot of ways, right? But at the same time, it's like women of color have a history even of like you have all these men in your family and men who are around who just have access to you. And like when you're a woman of color, you are not only just like a woman, but you are of color. So like the
Hmm.
whole intersectionality, like it's like you are the lowest of the low. So you are always essentially prey. People are always gonna try and get you. And that kind of shit is instilled generation after generation after generations. You know what I mean? With stories to bolster up, right? Like why these women are so afraid. Why now I have to wear a slip at 14 because
Hmm.
my grandmother is genuinely afraid for these old men to look at me like I'm a grown ass woman. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. And like I just
What
like
is a
I'm happy
slip?
now there are more conversations like, about putting the onus on the boys. Right?
Mike
Like
wants to
y'all
know
have to
what
be
a
the ones
slip
to
is.
know.
Sorry, not to cut you off,
Sorry,
but that's
Mike.
hilarious.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were finished, but then yeah, I'm sorry about that.
The slip is like a undergarment that
Yes.
you would wear
Yes, it's like a
under
little
a dress, or
Milani, like it can be a full dress situation or it can just be for your skirt. But
Mhm.
essentially it's for I mean, in its essence, it's just to smooth out lines so that your outfit looks nice, right? So like your fabric and everything falls nicely. But indeed it also covers things like your panty lines and like just it keeps helps to keep things together.
Mm.
Girdles too. I was my grandmother bought me a girdle at 13.
Girdled up,
I
Yo,
didn't
girdled
think
up at
people
13.
wore those still.
it's a
Yeah.
whole
That's
thing.
crazy.
I
Yeah.
feel like your story, like it hit on like two very different things. So I'm not sure because they kind of drive the conversation in two different directions. But like I think we can all agree it's definitely a societal thing.
Hmm.
Um, this I guess this weird like patriarchal thing of like women being like we said before about their value being in the purity and all that, but also this notion of like women being was it being infantized? I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right. Being like treated as
Franchise?
fragile, huh?
Like fragile like babies. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, like
infantilized. No, I'm saying it definitely incorrectly.
something like
but
that.
I
But
know
they're
what
basically treated as weak and fragile and needing some and being people needed as people regard needing protection
Protection, yeah.
um and I think that also kind of relates in a way though. Like I get the whole the patriarchal system that we have with that in that men are the big stronger hunter gatherer
Hmm.
yada yada and that kind of just carried itself through the centuries through different cultures and things like that. But
Right.
in terms of dating, I also think that is also played a role in the like the dating dynamics because you were talking about like uh not necessarily about older like old men preying on like a you as a like a preteen girl, but like in general the dynamic of men pursuing or being the pursuers, the romancers when it comes to the dating dynamic. Um, I've always had the I don't know I had this notion that things would be a lot different if that was wiped out. But like I guess you would have to change everything about the way society is. But I feel like generally if we put the same amount of like there was a cultural energy to like women pursuing men that they were interested in, if that same type of social norm was had it has existed, things would be differently and it wouldn't be such um
I mean, we've talked about this before, right?
this
Like, if
weird predatory relationship between men and women.
like, are you saying like if women, if the roles were reversed and women were in like the position of power,
Not even reversed.
would it be different?
If it was evened out, like if it was just like abolished, like I guess this idea that um this notion of the male as the pursuer, the wooer, the
Mhm.
romancer, that like that things would be different. What do you?
Um, I mean, I think that it's difficult to imagine. Firstly, I'll say that because
Yeah,
it just seems like there's too many factors that are already in play to even make that possible.
yeah.
Like,
But not, this is
but
not about me trying to change that because that's
yeah,
well, I don't know. Maybe one day,
no, you want
our
to change it.
kids. I want to, but like I definitely know I won't be alive to witness that day.
Hmm.
But like our kids, I don't know, because like you're talking about like the how the was it Bridgerton? Is that how you pronounce it?
Hmm.
Like the how long did it took for the social and like sexual progression to go from there to where we are now? And
That's true.
we're still way a long ways away from like a place the best or a better place. And like there's
Well,
still so much more improvement that can be done. So like yeah, obviously.
I think it starts with like what we were originally talking about is like how we raise the kids, right? So I think and I'm not a girl, woman, obviously. So like how if women are being coddled from an early age and made to feel like they have to kind of do the performative like princess type role, then yeah, it's going to continue to where the men will be the pursuer, and the women just kind of have to wait for those things. But like, I think another thing is not having. I think the parents are instilling fear into their children when they make it so like the world is going to get you. Like if you're a girl, you can't do this because someone is going to come and like I understand the necessity of making like having that awareness. It's like being a black person, like, when you raise black children, you kind of have to do a little different thing because like because of this may happen. Like I get that. But also I think it maybe needs to be less fear based and maybe just more awareness because then when you have that fear in it, it makes the women feel like I would imagine that they would feel like, just another level of pressure as opposed to like what men feel where there's like no pressure. Like I can go outside at night and walk like and it's fine.
You don't know how many friends, even just in the last decade, I've been on the phone with because it's 1:30 in the morning and need to walk to their car.
Mhm.
They have to get gas, like, and vice versa. I'm calling people because I'm walking home from the train because it's like at the end of the day, there is that fear, right?
Mhm.
And it's like the understanding at the end, like if I have to be ultra, ultra, ultra aware, right? Like hyper aware because that not. I mean, I don't know, because also being a woman, like, because like once upon a time, well, yeah, once upon a time, I did a bunch of like boys in the military, and one of them was a Marine, and we had this discussion about like when women were actually finally admitted to be in the Marines, because I didn't know that like the Marines were one of the last branches to let women join, right? And we had this and I'm just like, he's like, I'm going, they should have the same opportunity to go and die for our country. They feel like it. Like you do. He was like, yeah, but just like even physically, like women are smaller than we are. Like you don't like physically, there are certain things that you just aren't necessarily able to do in the way that we are able to do. Right. And
Mhm.
that stuff, that translates to like our experience in real life too. Right. If someone were to roll up on me on the sidewalk, like, I'm constantly always thinking of like Mortal Kombat moves, if you will, because like if like someone were to like get up on me, I have to be able to get up, get up out of there because I'm smaller. They're probably going to be stronger than me, right? And it's like unfortunate. It's like it's fear, but it is also that hyper awareness, like that preparedness, right? So it's like
Mhm.
it's hard almost to even kind of separate the two because like at the end of the day, right? Like even just like because like the biology stands what it is. If your daughter is attacked on campus or something like that, like 9 times out of 10, the person is probably going to be bigger than her, and he could probably or they could probably cause more harm to her than she could to them initially, right? And it's like, but I'm also here for the awareness. Like, I wish that I had more lessons in like defense or I guess maybe offense rather than defense. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I fought my brother all the time, but only like one, 'cause I like to wrestle, but two, because like in my mind, it's like it never hurts to practice. What does some dude? Well, my brother, he's like a bigger dude too. So I'm like, what does some dude about your size did ever roll up on me? I need to be able to know in my mind, I can get out of it, you know?
Hmm.
And I just wish that, I don't know, someone had taught me more so like self-defense moves, or I don't know, just like better ways to just be aware, or I don't know, just something different. But at the same time, I can't change every man's mind and or intentions of what he's gonna do when he sees me on the street, you
Yeah,
know?
and to that, on the flip side of that, we also need to teach men to not be fucking predatorial assholes. So like,
Oh,
I was gonna ask you all, do you guys think that that dynamic is more? I'm sure the answer is a mix, but like if you think it's more a product of like the socialized dynamic when it comes to, I don't know, dating and relationships between men and women, or it's just like inherent part of human nature. When I say in terms of like the violent, like in terms of being afraid of being attacked and um, being preyed upon and needing to prepare yourself. Do we think that's more dynamic because the way we've socialized men and women, or do we think that that's well, let's just say particular way we socialize men, or that's just the way some human beings are, and it just so happens that like more men are responsible because they're bigger and therefore can more easily harm smaller, weaker individuals.
I don't know. I was gonna mention this before, but I think if you think of, society as an engine, um, for these kinds of products or these byproducts in people, um, I think there's definitely probably parts of the population of people that are born more aggressive and born, where they're, when they grow up, they're just they're more inclined to like not handle things as well, and maybe that causes them to do harm to other people. But I think the societal engine that raises young men and raises young women, um, but like you're talking about raises young men, um, teaching them practices that could be characteristic of like predatorial in terms of like going out there and getting what you want and or taking what you want, um being aggressive, like like wanting to like aggressive sports and stuff like that. um I think, and those things are also reflected in work atmospheres, um, and others, other social environments. So I think that, in my opinion, I think that plays a bigger role than um, how how they're necessarily raised in the first, few prime years of their life, or forget what the term is, but like before the age of reason, sort of, for them. So I would say it's definitely um, a societal problem, because like we're saying, if we can conceive men having like those old men in the church, if we can conceive them having control over themselves, then where did it go wrong? It's not necessarily a ingrained problem, it's a societal problem that allows for that to occur, in my opinion. IMO.
yeah, I mean,
I don't know what you
I
guys
think I'm
think.
with you on that too. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's how we raise men as the primary, you know, factor here. Um, and I agree with what Mike says. Like, there is probably scientific, reasoning as well, as far as how a person was raised and what makes them be more aggressive or align more with violent acts and things like that. But it's just become so everyday commonplace for these types of things to happen that it just feels like, um, you know, something systemically is wrong. And, we have another topic where we talk about power dynamics, right? So a big part of the system, the systemic issue is the power dynamics that have kind of been upheld between men and women. But then we were talking about different types of roles that can also shift power dynamics. So let's say you have, uh, you're dating a celebrity, whether it be male or female. and one person is a celebrity and the other person is a non-celebrity, or one person is very wealthy and another person is, average wealth income or whatever. Um, so how do you think that kind of plays into the dynamics in that sense? Is there a difference? Is there a shift there?
Well,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Because I actually would like to address the video directly. So you go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, I was going to too. So I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Well, first of all,
Ooh,
She got the
that's
note.
no.
so okay, I thought that it was interesting that he was like giving all these like different like examples of like power dynamics at first. And I felt when I watched it twice, right? And I was like, all right, where are we going with this? But I didn't think that it was gonna go where he went. I would I
Oh,
felt
because
one that
he
he was
went into the grooming, right?
what yeah, and like
Yeah.
I don't know, but also though, surprisingly, I actually agree with like the last half of the video as far as like to get back to Kayvon's like example of like, okay, so you're a celebrity dating like a regular person, and like some people can say, oh well, that's predatory, perhaps. Perhaps like kind of celebrity is broad, right? Celebrity can be an Instagram somebody or
Mhm.
so, right? And like that is what it is. And you just are still some regular old person. And now you feel like, oh well, since they're an Instagram person, they clearly are using this person, or this person is trying to use them, or whatever. Whatever the example that guy was trying to make in the video, right? I don't know. Like I kind of agree, like where people can't feel bad about like some Instagram model taking some guy's money because he wanted to give it to her because that's what they chose to do. But at the same time, I thought I had a problem with the fact that like I don't know. And it could have been the context of this video. It felt like he was making the example that power dynamics didn't really exist in relationships. Like he opened the video with like, oh, well, this thing called power dynamics. I mean, well, some people
Mhm.
think that, you know, this relationship exists. I'm like, no, nigga, it's a thing. Like there are power dynamics in every relationship, romantic, business, platonic. There will always be power dynamics. There will always going to be levels of who falls where. That's just how humans are set up. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting video. Those guys are interesting. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Mike.
Um, yeah, the video rubbed me a wrong way a little bit, as well, just because I, I definitely think that there's more nuance than, I don't know his name, but the guy on the right, um, I don't know if anybody knows his name, but,
Not
um,
important.
yeah, uh, I think there's definitely more nuance. I mean, like one part, with I don't really know enough about like grooming and stuff like that. But I'm thinking of one part where he's talking about, where the guy says, "Oh, she seduced me." No, you got seduced.
Mhm.
Um, that there's this idea of, that exists still, that there's a moral sense to things. Like just because, um someone allowed you to do something to them doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a conscious thought about what you're doing to them. Obviously, if you have very clear consent about things, that's different. But I think what he was touching on more was this idea that, like, well, if people are gonna submit to somebody, you can't blame that person when they wield their influence. They're the other person's allowing them to wield that influence. Well, no, I don't think so. I think the person still has a moral obligation to, think about their actions and how they're affecting other people. um and what was funny was when I saw that video, I was watching, and my girlfriend was sitting next to me, so I said, do we have power dynamics in our relationship? And the only thing I could really think of was, um she likes to joke about how we have different love languages, and how mine is doing stuff for her, whether it's taking out the trash, or like making dinner, or whatever. And she likes like giving love, like cuddling and touching and stuff like that. But I at first I was like, well, if you don't, you depend on, you tend to come to depend on certain things like that, like, oh well, he didn't do that this week or whatever, so I was left out in the cold, kind of. But I don't think that's a power dynamic. I think power dynamics are really defined by like a manipulative factor, right? Like if you're like, well, I'm not gonna do that, or I'm not gonna do that unless this happens for me, or I'm a celebrity, so I'm gonna get you to like do something embarrassing because you want to impress me or something. Um, I think if it's manipulative in some way, whether it's because of celebrity status or because of its money, um, then it's definitely a power dynamic. I guess that's just a different aspect, but yeah, I think that conversation, the guy definitely rubbed me a little bit the wrong way because he was basically turning it around and blaming it on the people that have felt like they've been a victim of a power dynamic, which is not it's not always not their fault, but it's like Glenn said, like it's sometimes it is the fault of the person that's wielding the influence.
I just want to
Um,
jump in on something you said real quick because you were saying like you don't think like you being a doer or your girlfriend being a physical like displaying her emotions physically, that can definitely be a power dynamic, but it's like how you wield it, right? So like let's say you're upset with her and you're like, I'm not going to take the garbage out, it's going to piss her off. That's a power dynamic. If she's upset with you and she's like, I'm not going to touch him tonight, and you're going to be like, why didn't you touch me tonight? It's mental, but it's like it's a power dynamic, and that affects your relationship because you know how to wield whatever things work in your relationship to your benefit. So
right.
it
Well,
still
that's
is.
manipulation, though.
Yeah,
That's what I
but
mean.
that but you're I was just pointing out that like those things, even if it's not like I'm gonna, fly to Cali and be on a extravagant cruise and leave you by, like it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be as little as not taking the garbage out or not hugging someone at night.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, we were just thinking about it, and we don't use that to wield influence or whatever, or use it
Good
against
for
each
you.
other.
But there could be other things.
Yeah.
Like once upon a time, I was in a relationship, and it's something as simple as at one like when we first started dating, I was very very broke, very 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 broke. Come on, nose,
Been there.
and I couldn't afford to buy dinner, right? So he always bought dinner, which meant that I would always feel bad about like necessarily like requesting things that I really really wanted, especially because he and I eat very different things. So I deferred, you know.
Hmm.
So in essence, he's choosing what we eat for dinner. He's choosing what I'm eating for dinner almost every night.
Right.
That's a power, you know what I mean? Like it wields itself in different ways, right? Like, and maybe not in y'all's love languages, but like
Mhm.
that's how I'm saying. Like, I feel like in all relationships there are power dynamics, but like I think you make a good point, Mike, of like the not that the goal, but like your purpose behind your dynamic, right? Like the things that you do, and like why you do them. Because like when things are for the purpose of manipulation, then it becomes more of a negative power dynamic, right? But I feel like also like choosing using that term power dynamic in like a blanket, like it's only negative too is dangerous because like I said, like they're in every relationship, you know what I mean? Mothers and children, right? A child doesn't cook its own dinner, right?
Mhm.
It's a power dynamic. It knows it depends on this woman to feed it. And if not, it's gonna die. It's a power dynamic, right? And
Mhm.
it's not negative, it's just natural. It's what it is, it is. It is what it is.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Cause
Yeah,
like
and that's what I'm wondering if about those two guys. Are they would they characterize? I think they would probably characterize what we're saying as like, yeah, they would agree. Like power dynamics exist in those ways. I'm trying to get to the root more of like also like what he was trying to hit on, like in terms of um like
I
not
think I
not
could explain
being
that.
blameworthy. Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
So yeah, because I would say I'm I follow them more.
You're the only one that
Um,
likes them.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, we'll say that I would say generally I'm more of a fan of theirs than anyone else here. They were I think what inspired it, they were inspired by a particular incident that came in through like the internet news regarding an allegation of grooming. Um, and what they were tackling was this idea of power dynamics because often that term nowadays has been thrown like Lynn was saying, which it caught my eye, was the idea that power dynamics inherently being something that's negative because they exist and without context or other information. So like in this incident of the grooming, long story short, it was an internet celebrity who was um interacting romantically, sexually online with a fan. And critics of this celebrity were mentioning the power dynamics and that he was a famous person and this person was a fan, and that's what led to the and then there were other details regarding grooming. But like that, this idea of him being a celebrity and her being a fan, meaning that he was uh they want when they say power dynamics didn't exist, I believe they were saying that this negative connotation in which just because he was inherently a celebrity, he was famous, that he was wrong or immoral for pursuing for being romantically involved or sexually interested and involved with this fan.
Quick
Um,
question: you may not know. Was she underage? Was the person underage that they were
I
saying was
think
being
it was
groomed?
the one I told you guys about. It was the one where one was like 19 and then the other
Right.
one was like 17, something
Yeah.
like
So like,
that.
depending on whichever state you live, she might have been legal, might have been not, like that type of.
Yeah, but
Right.
so like this idea like you guys were saying, their power exists a lot in any relationship in different ways. The way you express yourself through your position, through the money you have, your resources, um, through sex, things like that. Um, I guess one thing I want to ask, want to establish real quick. So, would we say that like dating a celebrity dating a fan or a boss dating a subordinate is inherently wrong? I'm just curious what you guys feel about that.
I don't feel like it's inherently wrong, honestly, because I
Yeah,
feel like while there are plenty of ways and like reasons where there could be like a lot of malicious intent on either
yeah,
side,
it could.
honestly, from the fan side as well as the celebrity side. But I
Hmm.
mean, at the end of the day, they're all still humans, and there's still also the opportunity for them to have an actual, I don't know, connection. People have those sometimes, and like each other. That happens too. And it's like I don't
Yeah.
see why someone's their particular social status or their particular career would necessarily have to be the deterrent, especially as someone who I am proud to say in college, I would have happily run off to be a groupie for several people, like legit had a backpack and was willing and ready to do whatever. Okay, I was ready to get out of Baton Rouge. I was ready to go, right?
Wait, who were you groupie? Who would you have been a groupie for? I'm
Drake
curious
at the
now.
time, The Weekend, Ludacris came to my
Oh,
school. I
Drake.
was on his bus. I didn't care.
Of
I
course,
was trying to get
of
the
course,
fuck.
it was
I
Drake.
understand.
First of
I was
all,
ready to go. I think I
Drake.
even
Let's not. Don't
posted.
get me started on Drake and his attention to young women,
You know
because
what's funny? Lil Wayne
he's got a
actually was who I
storied
wanted to
past.
get to, but I know I could
Hmm.
only get to Lil Wayne through Drake because Lil Wayne he don't like dark skinned girls. I was
Hmm.
young and naive also, but it was a whole thing. Like I don't know, and it was like in that mindset, right? At least in my like 22-year-old mindset, I knew that yes, if I were to actually be in the groupie life, because like you kind of knew about what it kind of was, you would probably have to deal with a lot of things that were not going to be pleasant. But in my mind, I was totally willing. However, to bring it back to y'all's point, it doesn't make the people on the other side infallible. You know what I mean? And I think that and I think that sounds like the point that the guys were trying to also bring up. It's like, well, perhaps this person isn't of like the best intentions, right? And like maybe he is putting her through things that are morally inept, right?
Mm,
I mean, but they also could not be. They're
yeah.
17, 19 years old. They're probably
And
fucking and talking about smoking weed. Like literally, like what could he possibly be doing outside of that and like buying sneakers? Like, you
and
know?
also, I think on top of that, like let's. I don't think that power dynamics are inherently wrong. I think honestly, in dating, they're like we always each person is using their power to men when men are pursuing women. You're using your power in the pursuit of trying to woo or romance a partner. You're using whatever form of power capital you have. So like if you're very if you're good looking, that's a form of power you're wielding. Same for a woman. If you're very attractive, you're using appearance to garner a connection, attraction to the person. Your money garners attraction. Your intelligence can be very appealing to the different person. That's a form of power because it's something they find valuable. Um, so like
I just say real
power,
quick, I'm
yeah.
sorry to cut you off, but just real quick, as like the only woman in the room, I just think it's really funny and cute that you guys really believe that y'all have the power when y'all are pursuing us. Because in actuality,
Oh no,
while we are allowing you guys to pursue us,
I was
and we are the
I was
ones
gonna.
using our power to keep you guys if we so choose. Once we have activated that you guys want to pursue us, just I
Oh,
want to make that be
I
known.
was
The internet,
I was gonna.
whoever here, I
I
have
do.
to say.
I was gonna. I was thinking about the whole pussy on a pedestal thing for sure. So
Not even
I'm
that
just
though. It's just like I don't know. Like we make it to where y'all want us. You realize that, right? Like y'all don't just decide y'all want to pursue a woman. Like women, we go out of our ways to make it so y'all want to pursue us.
yeah
So it's we are the
we
ones that wielding
we
the power first.
we chase you guys because you guys are the in terms of like sexual relationships. If you're being a decent human being, we're chasing you guys. You guys are the gatekeepers of of
Of the
the
situation.
relationship.
Also,
Yeah,
I
because like
appreciate your decent human being caveat because you are a
yeah
human being.
yeah. So like if you obviously the guy in uh in average like heterosexual dating dynamics, the guy is pursuing the girl because it's often because that's the way we've been culturally programmed that this is the social custom that uh, men pursue women. I think going back to the idea of women's value being in their purity, I think that also relates. So like therefore you you being well now in this age where you're not being like sold off in marriages. Now
traded for
your sex
cows.
yeah your sexual agency is now your own. So now you're the gatekeepers. So therefore uh you have to be pursued and persuade, right? And then like I said, you're using so like all right, so yeah, you're saying that women are the power, they're the gatekeepers. But I'm saying like men are still using their power or their influence or their
Whatever leverage we
resources.
can scrape together.
Yeah, they're using their leverage, their humor. Um, some if you're using like certain dating techniques, whether it's like negative reinforcement or whatever, things like that.
What have you been
Your
reading,
sense,
Kamal?
huh?
What have you been reading?
I
Yeah,
haven't
tell
been
us how
reading
you really
anything.
feel.
I
That's
mean,
the saddest. That's the saddest truth is that women do hold all the power and at least from what I remember
a
reading,
lot
like
of it. Let's say a lot of it.
well, from a biological perspective, like they choose who they choose, like they
Yeah.
choose who they allow to mate with them.
Mhm.
And what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought.
One thing I wanted to jump in real quick because we were talking about, or at least Kamal, you asked, is it inherently bad, I guess, or inherently negative when it's a celebrity versus non-celebrity or a boss and employee type relationship? So
Yeah.
I think those situations are kind of different. With a celebrity, kind of like what Lynn was saying, like you kind of know what you're getting into when you have that celebrity fan relationship, right? When it comes to a boss and their employee, I don't think it's inherently bad, but I think that power dynamic can definitely it's a little trickier.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Which
One
is
is
why
and
there's laws against it. You know what I mean? Like
right,
yeah.
yeah,
But it's a tricky one because like while they're like because like dating is such an emotional thing and
right.
there's a room for like abuse, like abuse of power or manipulation, things like that. Like it's also the dynamic
quid
where
pro
like
quo.
yeah, but there's also the dynamic of where like I think there's a high percentage of like where relationships start between people who work together, right? So
Hmm.
like it wouldn't be it's not surprising that like a boss and someone else could interact and be in a relationship because of work proximity,
I will say
right?
But
this, in my experience of people who have had those kind of relationships, like I have one best friend, she married her former coworker, right? But they were
Hmm.
on the same level, which I think also makes a difference
mhm,
versus someone, which I think to Kevon's point too, good point to bring up actually, like the boss employee thing. It's like when emotion and your money get mixed up, that is when
mhm,
things get really dangerous, right?
mhm,
Because now, like I've hurt you, you've hurt me, but if you've hurt me and I'm the boss, and I've decided I don't want to deal with you anymore, that could be the, that's your whole well being essentially,
mhm.
and like
Hmm.
hence the laws, right? But
Right.
I don't know. It definitely does make a difference.
There's
And I mean,
definitely
I
like,
bring it up because I've been in that situation. I won't necessarily get into the details, but like it's
oh yeah,
difficult
we spoke
because
about that, right?
so like for me, when I'm at work, I'm at work. I won't even speak about the dynamic necessarily,
He means he's
but
putting in that work. What?
when I
Sorry.
all right, when I'm at work, like I'm very focused in what I do. Like I take my job seriously. So for me, the issue with that dynamic was the person I was dating kind of inserting our personal stuff into work. And I couldn't operate under those circumstances because it's like, this is not where we do that. We do that stuff there. Like, we're at work now, I'm at work. I'm not your boyfriend, I'm not dating you. Like, we can't do that here. And that was actually an issue for us because for her, it was like, well, this is who we are. Like we should be like this all the time. Or and not to put words in her mouth because those weren't her exact words, but her actions definitely said, I want to express this for you now. And I'm like, I can't take that right now. I got to go do this thing. And that's why I think for me, the work dynamic or the boss employee dynamic was different because there's a level. It's like you're kind of trapped in a sense. Like there's so many, like Lynn was saying, there's so many other factors. Like it's your well being. Like I'm like I got to do my job well because I can't lose this job. Like
Yeah.
I gotta, but there other person's not thinking that same way. So that's to me what makes it a little bit different and less
Yeah.
like I'd rather be in a celebrity fan relationship than a boss employee
Yeah,
relationship.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, because
can a celebrity still make those like the decisions and personal boundaries that you're talking about making as a boss to
Mm.
your your girlfriend? Couldn't a celebrity make those decisions? Like why are they not held to the same type of standard? Why can't if Drake is pursuing this girl,
because
I
it's
love
but
that it's Drake.
voluntary.
I love that it's Drake.
Because it's not voluntary though. Like the boss employee, the boss subordinate relationship is like um is not like it's not
Involuntary.
a it's involuntary in the fact that like the restraints on like
The
the
environment.
dynamics are the dynamics are inherent in the fact that one's an employee of the other, one has
right,
power
yeah.
over the other.
Mhm.
Whereas a fan of celebrity, you may like them, but like you're choosing to pursue them or whatever. They're choosing to pursue you. Like they
Mhm.
have no in most instances they have no control over and no influence over you generally.
I just mean like why can't a celebrity make the decision? Because we're talking about what those guys were saying about how they don't really feel bad for people who get fucked over because of a celebrity or something like that. Like, why can't a celebrity make the decision to outright just say like, I don't date fans, I don't date groupies or stuff like that. Like, why can't they do that?
Well, I'm sure they do. I'm sure some celebrities don't sleep or date every fan of theirs. But like
Or any fans.
I'm
I would hope there's a celebrity that
yeah,
hasn't dated like
or I'm sure some who have or any fans. But like it's also like they're human beings. If they're like these are celebrities, like the same way we are talking about using your looks and your money and things like that, using your celebrity to get like to date isn't inherently like a wrong thing. So like using your fame to get the attention of like attractive men or women that you want to sleep with enough or whatever is not inherently wrong. And I think that's what they were referring to about it not being like you getting fucked over by a celebrity you slept with is not on them because like you're a willing participant in pursuing them or being involved with them.
And I want to caveat again, does not make fucked up shit infallible. Just because you reached out to Drake because you wanted to suck his dick, and then Drake decided to stream you doing this BJ for him and all his little Negroes, that does not make it okay. Does
Oh
not
yeah,
Very
make
Drake
it okay.
thing to do.
And does not,
Drake would do
does
that,
not make that
100%.
person the one who is at fault.
wait, that's
I
a
didn't
Drake
know
thing
this
to do.
about Drake.
It is
I
an
didn't
important
realize.
caveat to make because I've been
Wait,
in conversation with other guys who will make an opposite point. Like, well, she showed up, so she knew she must have been down for whatever. And like
Mhm.
Oh
that's
yeah,
not
no,
it either.
this
You
is
know what I
this
mean?
is
Like
But
this
that's
is
that
this
predatory
is
bullshit, man.
this
uncomfortable.
this is strictly in the like giving people the benefit of doubt that all acts are consensually agreed upon and acted upon. Like this is
Okay.
not like
Imagine
like
Drake
you.
one day like watches this show and he's like, "What the
He's like,
fuck?
He's like, what did I do to Lynn? He's like,
What did I do to these people?"
like Lynn is she's really upset I didn't take her on tour back in the day. She's really holding a grudge
He's
on
like, "It was one blowjob video.
me.
like, damn, I guess I should have really picked her up, huh? Damn, like
Can I not live?"
Okay. Quick transition into another kind of celebrity dynamic conversation, right? We all watched the recent movie Malcolm and Marie. Came out on Netflix about a week ago, something like that. And yes, Money Dance, Free Bobby. Um, so we have all seen this movie. And again, with kind of the Valentine's Day theme, we wanted to talk about it because it deals with uh, I guess you would say maybe like a Hollywood type of relationship between a up and coming film director and his model girlfriend.
Yeah. We'll try and keep
They
spoilers to.
to a minimum.
I don't know.
I mean, I think we should try within our limits.
grasp.
And we're gonna talk about it the
Eh.
way we want to. So we'll say spoiler warning now, but
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about it the way we want it. If the details get spoiled,
Yeah.
then
So
suck it
you've
up.
been warned.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's not really a plot that can be spoiled necessarily.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Am I
but there's
wrong?
details that maybe like will
That's the
ruin
details
the
for
build
sure.
up. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
But we've given clear enough warning, right? Spoiler warning. We'll put it in
Start
the
it
title
now.
of the video.
Yeah, stop it.
Okay.
Stop our podcast here. Go watch the movie and then come back and watch our comments.
Okay, so anybody have any hot takes, strong feelings about it, and that want to jump right in? Or?
Those two people are fucking nuts.
Yes,
Both of
I
them.
would agree.
I don't know if that's a hot take though, because that's like
It's not a hot take. It's not a hot take.
all right.
Damn it.
But
I love hot takes.
All right. So, all right. I have kind of a hot take. I'm still like I said. I was telling Kavon about this. I'm still digesting the movie. Still, I might need to watch it again.
Mhm.
But I felt like the movie was like really pretentious.
Okay. In what way?
Ooh.
The
What if you know it?
I don't know if it was pretentious or if it was a bunch of like what's the word homages that I wasn't recognizing. But there were definitely homages to Spike Lee, right? I'm not reading into it, right? For sure, right?
Give me an example, because nothing. I'll be honest, nothing particularly jumped out.
Particular shots, the music, the consistent music in the background that they were using.
Mhm.
I feel like the use of like R&B and jazz in background between cuts of like different cuts
Yes.
of the hallways and like different rooms. I feel is very
I could
much
see that.
early.
I was some of the tights were also very like
Yeah,
esque as well.
I felt we're very spiked, but that was okay. So I'm not crazy. That wasn't the pretentious part. I've always had a weird relationship with films.
Distinguish between that and Spike Lee.
Yeah, sorry. So like I do recognize that, and that was cool, I guess. I've always had a weird feeling relationship about films about like filmmakers or films making. It
Hmm.
always it what's the word I used? It like feels like a circle jerk.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So
I think that's a fair criticism. Yeah.
like especially when they had one of the main characters being such a like pretentious narcissistic filmmaker,
Hmm.
it felt weird having him talk about like the importance and the artistry and the mystery of film.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Like you're having a film about a filmmaker talking about the importance and artistry and mystery of film. It felt like I was like, like,
It's
and then
very meta.
It's very
yeah, and then not only that, then he was going into the those long. Well, they all were going into those long
Monologues.
monologues,
Hmm.
but particularly his about like when he just started ranting about basically all of the Malcolm characters' rants were just like really I can't think of another word besides pretentious. Like all of
Hmm.
his complaints was like
Just to clarify, so because are you saying that the character was pretentious and you didn't like that, or you're just making that statement, or are you saying that the film in general was pretentious because of the filmmaker making a movie about filmmakers?
both.
Both. Okay.
I often feel that films about filmmakers like discussing film or about a film being made where like the characters talk about the significance of filmmaking is
Hmm.
pretentious, and he himself was a very pretentious narcissistic character.
Hmm.
Well,
and I don't
I
that
think
Ve-
I think him being pretentious is a sign that it is a good movie. Like in terms of his acting, like because you want people to believe that he is pretentious, and I'm guessing here, but I'm guessing that they want him to come off as pretentious for a lot of the time. So I think
I
that
hope
part
so.
is good.
I
I mean,
hope
I
so.
feel
If they
like
were trying to characterize him any other way, they missed the ball because he like. Sorry, Eileen.
it's okay.
What
I'm
were you
very
gonna say?
it's chill. I was just gonna say, like, as someone who like works in the film industry, I love that you read it as pretentious because like I read it as and like also too like working in the film industry, television, right? I'm also in a lot of like groups and like there's always like jokes and stuff about like film students and like how you talk to a film student and the first three things out of their mouth is well, will you watch my screenplay or like will you read my screenplay or something like that or will you watch my short? And it's just like it felt like that. It felt very, very, very like insular too, like in the first, like in the very beginning of it. Cause I'm like, I'm listening to this conversation and like if I hadn't been on set for the last 3 years, I don't think I would follow this conversation as tightly as I am. So it's like and that's only because I know about what they're talking about. But I'm like, if I had no clue, I had no connection to the industry at all, would this even be interesting to me? It sounds like grapple because it's so like some of the references are really specific. Some of like you know what I mean? Like when like they're describing even some of the filmmakers, like they were like very
Hmm.
obscure references and like I'm here for a good go Google it later thing. However, I don't know, you still want people to be able to kind of connect and be able to follow along and like be able to say like, oh right, like because I also know who this person is, so I can relate to why he's so upset or why she, can't get it or whatever.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's like you put into words exactly like what I was thinking. Like, and I didn't know how to say it, but like it's pretentious because like agreeing with Kamal, like that it's pretentious movie because like oh this is all about because she didn't thank him in an award speech. Like how am I supposed to like even conceive that kind of thing? You know, like and then Lynn, you're talking about like some of the movie. I thought the movie references also were very obscure. Like I had no idea like about some of them. And then the just the other references that they're talking about being on the red carpet and stuff or taking pictures with the main actresses and stuff of his movie. I appreciate it for like its uniqueness. You know, we don't hear that kind of story a lot, but I think it is pretentious in the sense that like because it even says like this is a movie of not about love. It's not a love story or whatever. This is which I guess supports the director, right? Because it's not supposed to be a regular love story like that we know and can connect to. It's supposed to be about love, which I think it definitely shines through. But I mean, it's just such a far experience, like, and it's also like super what's the word, like hyperbolic almost, like she was a drug addict, now she's a model, and like she wasn't thanked in his speech. Yeah, it just, that to me I think is I would totally agree. It's kind of like over the top a little bit,
Wait, hold on, come on.
unrealistic.
Before you
I know
before
he's
you
like he's
go,
like stewing right now.
before I go, no, no,
before
go,
you
go,
go,
go, go. Yeah,
before you
go.
go, I just want to say, so when I said percentages, that was one of the that was one that was because you said hot take. So like that was, I know that was like a strong feeling that would like be like, oh,
Hmm.
that's interesting. But like I actually still like Mike. I think it was well done because like Mike, but like differently from what Mike said, I did find like some very, maybe I'm reading into it, but I actually found like some very like deep layers into the whole idea of the not being thanked, because they actually kind of displayed a lot of different behaviors and practices in relationships that I found like were almost universal, oddly enough. Like
Hmm.
so like differently from that. Let me see. I took a couple of notes. Um,
Can you do it as dramatically as Lynn did it earlier? I need you to snatch it.
no, I can't. I can't. I
No,
can't
And
reach
then
that.
just
okay.
like
This is
put
a
it
Um,
down on
one-time
the
thing.
but
table.
I'll just go over a couple of them and then let Kavan, because Kavan's the film
No, no,
auteur.
no,
So
don't. Just go.
Done.
um, things I found interesting. Was it the idea, the the practice of them taking turns in their monologues to one another, while it felt um that part felt a little artificial. It also felt like it was interesting that that seemed to be the practice of their relationship, where, because like you usually think that in like very confrontational, heated relationships, there would be a lot, and especially that are so full of fighting, there would be a lot of arguing over each other, a lot of um, incomplete thoughts being had because nobody, um, people wanting to win over the other. Yet they found a way to do both. They were able to like, they took turns in fully expressing themselves, yet still found a way to be vicious and um, hurtful to one another, the way like you would have in a fight. It was, so that was interesting. Um, the way they weaponized their criticisms, like they were basic, like I said, they were taking turns almost. Like they were like they one would monologue, and they almost like I would almost thought it would have been funny if they like showed a scene of them like sitting down and writing down what they were going, all the shit they were going to say on like a notepad, and then reading it off to them. Um, so like, and part of me, and like I guess the biggest idea I had was, the question I had was this relationship deeply toxic or oddly enlightening in the way they communicated? Okay, I'm done.
Okay. I just want to say, as a film student, okay, I feel attacked by Lynn specifically. Okay,
Oh, by
because
Lynn?
yes,
Okay, great, great.
because
I'm
yes,
reading.
no, no, come on, come on. I know, you know. Okay, so it's
I had
but
no
for Lynn
idea.
to read me for filth, right,
I'm
on
reading
national
about
television slash YouTube.
it.
Okay,
I
yes,
love some kids. They're my friends, but I'm
In
just
front of
listen,
my wife and kids?
I hear you, but okay, I just have to touch on several points here. Okay, we're pretentious people. Okay, but I think any person who is artistically inclined to a degree, when they're passionate about something, and in combination with that kind of like just sensitive, I think pretension kind of comes out of that. And I don't consider myself to be a necessarily pretentious person, but like when Lynn is like, you're speaking to a film student when, like, and I'm not asking people to read my scripts all the time, besides these two guys who have read my work. But um, there is a thing where it's like, I can tell when someone, like, when I hear someone speaking about movies, you can tell it's like different It's just a different level. Um, so for me, watching the movie, a lot of the references, and I hear what you're saying, Lynn, when you say like you don't know if you relate to it because you work in the industry, so you get it. But I would counter that, would say, what about when you watch like a medical drama that has a lot of medical jargon, or a legal drama where they go into detail about very specific careers that you may not be privy to? If it's a military movie, like there's different types of movies that go very in depth with the jargon, but that to me is not the overall part or the overall aim of the story, right? The story is about their relationship, not about him and his film technicalities and references, which I did get all the references except for one. Just putting that out there. Um, so,
Mm,
Of
my
course.
so, so yeah, I know. And listen, I'm playing into your thing, 100%. So another thing I wanted to touch on, Kamal, you mentioned something that I loved about the movie was the way that they paced the argument, right? Where it wasn't just like attack, attack, attack. It was like, let me actually take in what you're saying and process it. And I think they do actually, or the director really does do a good job of showing at least Malcolm's character processing. The first time he does it is when he's eating the macaroni and cheese. Like she goes off her whole thing about not being thanked, and he doesn't respond right away. He just starts eating the macaroni and cheese, and he's like, you see his facial journey that he goes on. He goes and he gets more mac and cheese. He sits back down and he thinks on it. But you can see with that character, he is internalizing and churning on what she said, and then he comes back and he hits. And then there's another scene where he goes outside and he's swinging and he's punching out like just at the air, and then he comes back. Like that's him internally working through whatever she said and coming back with the most forceful, blunt, harsh thing he could possibly say. And I love that he really, like the writer, gave them that time to work through it, and it felt like in real time. Like this wasn't like, in typical movies we see an argument and they go back and forth and then it's cut and it's on to the next thing. Like the whole span of it was this argument and we were sitting in it with them. And I love that. Like I love movies where you get to sit with someone or a group of people and just be in it with them and feel the energy going back and forth. I thought it was great. I didn't think it was pretentious. Uh, Maybe that says a
Like
lot
I
about
told you,
me.
like I told you,
But
the thing with the black and white, like I said, films about filmmaking and filmmakers
yeah,
always feel a little
I get it. I get it.
feel like feel
a
feels like a little
little.
bit of like they're playing with. They feel like they're playing with themselves a little bit, just a little bit.
Sure, sure. And
Yeah.
to Kamal and I had spoken about this too, right? So to take that to another degree, not only is it a filmmaker making a movie about filmmaking or a filmmaker, this is also a drug. What's the word? A former drug addict making a movie about a filmmaker dating a former drug addict. For those who don't know, Sam Levinson, the writer director, is also the director of Euphoria, which also deals with drug abuse at a young age. So these are all topics that he's very familiar with because he's a director and because he's a writer, because he's been involved with heavy drug use. So is it a big circle jerk? Yeah, like yeah, but that doesn't mean it's not good. Like I know all those things
Oh,
going
I
into it,
understand.
and I think it's just it's not about the drugs. It's not about him being a filmmaker. It's about how they communicate, which I think is like incredible. Like I love that they're both very honest with each other. I love that they, and maybe this is a bad thing, but like they know, like they're surgical with their comments. Like she knew what to say to him for him to come back and be like, wait a minute, did you mean this? And like that's how
Yeah,
like the relationship has been through some shit, because they can dig and dig and dig and just have these things to pull through, and
yeah,
then
they knew.
they give each other the time to speak. I think it's actually healthier that they said their piece, think about it, come back, give your rebuttal, because a lot of times when people are arguing, you're just screaming at each other and no one is actually hearing anything. I think in this movie we actually see them process information that's being shared with them, and maybe it's not always delivered the right way. It's very hurtful, but you can't say that they're not hearing each other out.
So can I just say that while I appreciate you guys appreciating like this way that the art was being done,
Mhm.
also I'm not gonna go into my whole opinion about jargon. I'm maybe later to keep on. Like I do have an opinion about
No,
jargon,
No, shit
That's
on my
almost
life, please.
I love to
Just
read and shit too.
ruin me.
I don't. I'm like, but is it necessary or is it meh? But
Hmm.
y'all realize though, right? In a film with two characters taking place in the space of one night in one location, what the fuck else were they going to do? Were you expecting the film to perhaps have them yelling at each other for 10 minutes on top of each other and then cutting to a scene where there's nobody? Because it's literally just the two of them. To me, it's logical that the way that the filmmaker laid out the dialogue, because it also read to me like a play, right? So
Hmm.
if you like, and especially if you watch a lot of plays that go to film,
Hmm.
right? There is that certain, because in a play there is that there are those moments you give them on. It's his monologue time. I'm
Right.
just here. I'm hanging out, right? And
Hmm.
that's how that's part of how the art and how like the dialogue is just laid out because that's how it is in that art form. And I just feel like, I don't feel like he gets extra
Excellent.
kudos for just doing what he's supposed to do. Because otherwise, what would we have watched in that house? Let me know. There was literally nothing else going on aside from them two in this moment. So I mean, he did what he was supposed to do to say that he did a thing. I don't know. Like, and then also, I kind of wish I didn't know that he also did Euphoria, because it
Hmm.
makes a lot of sense as far as why Zendaya was playing her role the way she was, which
Hmm.
also just kind of took it away from me a little bit because I didn't like Euphoria, not for
Hmm.
me, whatever. Not to say that it's not a good, like, not to say that Zendaya isn't good in the show. She's a very talented actress, right? Love her to death. However, it's just not my kind of content,
Hmm.
and it's not the kind of content I would like prefer to consume, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then to know that he pretty much took her character, it feels like almost, and like squished it, smashed it, and then made her a little bit older and a little bit more mature with a few more problems, but at the same time she still has the same kind of base. To me, doesn't really, it makes it that much more less impressive.
Hmm.
I don't know. 'Cause I didn't,
Okay.
'cause honestly, like, I wasn't able to finish it because of personal reasons, because it also is triggering as fuck. And like, you should,
Hmm.
I don't know, y'all should say that at the top. If you are someone who has gone through a shitty relationship, maybe don't watch it. That's for me to
Hmm.
you. That's your
Hmm.
gift. But like, it's just like, I don't know, dude. Like, I thought that it was an okay film. I thought that, I mean, and then this for me personally also saying a lot, being that I love the actors in the film
Hmm.
together. I love them separately. I'm big fans, right? They are
Hmm.
very, very talented. And I genuinely believe I think they played their roles as well as they could have. But I don't know. It's an interesting thing to put out.
Yeah, that was another thing that I struggled with a little bit was I understand the intention maybe behind the pacing in terms of you're talking about a long argument between these two people and we're going along for the ride, and so there are points where you're kind of like your tension is kind of waning because of the sheer length of just being in this argument, and that's it. That's what the movie's about. Um, but I definitely I like you were saying, Lynn, about the like what were we really supposed to see other than these two people from scene to scene. I was trying to not track, but just keep in mind like the cuts in the movie, and there aren't a ton of them. Um, but I think one of the apart from like you were Kavan and Kamal, you were saying about the spacing between the dialogues, and that pacing. I thought the usage of this house was also just interesting. That it kind of it made the fact that we were just watching this argument and that's it, nothing else. It made that fact a little bit more digestible because when you have an argument with somebody, he's trying to represent their argument by the words that they're saying, obviously, but in the dialogue, but also like physically where they are. And in an argument, you're distant from somebody. For some of the time, I guess some of the time you're coming back together. But my favorite parts are when he just wakes up and she's gone. Like to me, I thought that was when the movie was gonna break, like he just like she went somewhere or whatever, whatever would have happened, but she was just he used this physical set, this house that was, I mean, in my mind it would be pretty big house. And she's just like, the first time, I forget where she goes to like pee by a tree or something.
Hmm.
um that felt like very distant from him, and just like the images of him like walking throughout the house, shouting Marie, Marie, like. Then the second time I forget which they're just out like on the the hilltop or whatever. It's very like like not like the opposite of paradise almost like they're like stuck on this just like there's no other scenery, there's just like the house grounds and the house, and you don't see past that. um so I think that plays that physical description, that physical like appearance of the movie, I think is a nice representation of like the arguments that they're having and the distance and the clash between each other. That they're kind of like, but they're kind of like stuck together at this like, just like where the fuck are they? Kind of. Well, they say it. I think he says it. Beverly Hills, maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
They're
but it
somewhere
just
in
feels
California, I
so
assume.
like
Malibu?
what?
I forget.
Did you say he was? Didn't you say Malibu?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
But
Hmm.
it felt eerie. It felt off. Like people, how you should feel like when that's happening.
That's
I
interesting.
mean, go ahead, come on.
It's interesting because just like before Kavan had like suggested the movie, like I think I was planning to watch it at some point, but I actually like saw like some review, like a video review online, and like the thumbnail said something to the effect of like, "Don't watch this with your partner" or something like that. So
Mhm.
I was like, oh, it's gonna be one of those. Um,
You should
so
not
like
watch it with your partner if you shouldn't be with your partner. like,
that's
like if
yeah,
you have a good
that's
That should
maybe
partner,
have
then
been
that
the
that makes a big
disclaimer.
difference.
that could have been it,
That's the
right?
full
So
disclaimer.
like like to play it safe, I decided to watch it at a time
Oh,
when
you coward.
yeah,
Oh shit!
so hey, I call it playing smart. You avoid arguments when you can. Um, but
So
yeah,
if he
I
watches
thought,
this episode,
huh?
so if he watches this episode, then the argument's coming.
Well, no,
You watched it
she
without
ended.
me?
She had no.
You
I
thought I
actually
was gonna
told
be
her.
upset? I'll show you
I
upset.
I asked her if she was interested in watching it. She did. She was like, "Oh, uh, she did. She thought it was cool. She thought it was um what she said she thought Malcolm was tiring. Is how she
Mhm.
said.
Absolutely.
Um, but like I think like the you were talking about like them arguing wasn't something. Lynn, you said that you thought the arguing wasn't that interesting. Like
No,
just them.
no, no. I didn't say that the arguing wasn't interesting. I said that the fact that they were each giving their takes one at a time
Yeah.
was not impressive, which is very different.
Oh,
Because as
I
far as
you
like what the filmmaker was going to do, what was he going to do?
Oh yes, because you said it. Yeah, the kind of the play layout. Yeah, and I got that. I definitely felt that it felt like each was taking their part. But like I guess the fact that it was a film, I kind of looked at it differently. But maybe I'd be interested if it were like it started out as more like a film
A
as like
play
a
kind of thing.
play.
I feel like
Yeah.
I read somewhere that this like is not a new thing that he wrote either, right? That he like tried to get this made a few years ago and it just popped up. Am I making that up? Are you allowed to Google
Um, to my knowledge, it was written during quarantine. I think like at least the version of it that
Okay.
we saw. And then between Zendaya and John David Washington, they, you know, worked on it together like in the moment. But this is, to my knowledge, like a quarantine creation.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think they explained that because like they made this film in quarantine, especially because they only took
Oh yeah, they just said in the beginning.
it
Right.
was just them. But I think what I just thought was interesting was just the like some of the like common I guess like what you would consider like stereotypical like relationship like habits, bad relationship habits I saw in
Mm.
it. Um, like particularly at the end with Maria Zendaya. How you pronounce it again?
There.
Zendaya.
Zendaya.
Daya, right? Yeah. Okay, I was saying. Like her last, I guess, salvo. Um, like the practice of or not just that, but in also in uh Malcolm's attacks as well, this practice of like scorekeeping,
Hmm.
which is like very very I feel it's like very common in relationships, especially um ones where like there's like an issue with communication, but also um yeah, there's like a barrier in communicating with one another, that like you keep score on slights or episode like instances of feeling unappreciated or disrespected, and you kind of like store it up to save it for an occasion to be used later.
I hear that.
Am I the only
Yeah.
one?
No, no, I
Am I
definitely
the,
picked up on that. It was
yeah.
when she would say, you know, you could have won without mentioning those other girls or like something like that, and they make it very apparent that like they're tallying. But like that's what I enjoyed about the movie was the way that they were able to communicate things without necessarily saying, or you're able to see how you know what their relationship dynamic is without putting necessarily a finger on exactly whatever the issues are, whatever causes them you know to clash in their relationship.
I mean,
One thing I wanted, sorry, one thing I just wanted to ask was this: do you guys think this whole not getting thanked was it justified? Because that's what I'm mostly interested in. That's like the whole driver of the movie, right? Like she didn't get the thank you. Is she right? Or I guess whose side are you on? Are you on Malcolm's side or Marie's side? Did she should she have
I
been
actually
thanked?
mentioned that, yeah, that it's always a at the end of the day, this was a because they were arguing. It's a like whose side are you on?
Mhm.
Um,
Let's just go
for
around. Who
me,
says
oh,
you can go first? I'm just saying.
oh, sorry. Well, I'm kind of torn because, like, for me, it felt like the movie wanted us to feel that Marie won
Hmm.
because she had the last word. She seemed to have the most like devastating final blow, and like she had him somewhat um, concede in a way
Hmm.
by
By
apologizing
saying thank you. Yeah.
and thanking her.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know because like her what she wanted was like made confusing throughout the film. So I'll let everyone else.
When you go.
Yeah, I don't want to go.
right. I told you I didn't even finish it. Like, you want
Oh,
me
you
to
didn't
go?
finish. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, you're right. You
I
did say that.
couldn't finish it. Okay, I got through half of it. I will tell you, I
Okay.
stopped where they were in the bathtub.
Hmm. Okay.
Oh, when
So,
he
I
went
mean, you
off
can
about
still.
I got like legit through half of it. So okay, from what I
So,
gathered, right, what I
do you
saw.
think she's totally overblowing it, or do you think he's crazy? Like, what do you think so far?
So I think it's funny you asked the question because there would have been other instances I would have been like, yeah, she's totally right and justified. She should get the thank you. But at the same time, being that we were there for this entire argument, and we got all the layers and the details of like who, what, when, and who, what, when again. I'm like, I don't know. I think it maybe she's making it too big of a
Hmm.
thing. I think she should have been upset. But I think, she could have also thrown the macaroni and cheese in his lap and called it a night. Like, and everyone could have been fine. Also, also, I think it's interesting
Violence is
how
not
no
the
one
answer.
mentioned the fact that she didn't want to have this fight. In the beginning
oh
of the
yeah, I
film,
point yeah,
she totally calls it out, right? And it's like, I'm not even gonna
he's
tell you what's on
impossible
my
of
you don't know
de-escalating.
how to
Yeah,
de-escalate. So I'm gonna lay my ass down and go be upset. Right?
yeah,
Which I also
and
found to be an interesting thing because it's like that is such a I don't know, it's a common thing I feel like in relationships. It's like and that to me also is not okay. Right? Because it's like you can't be like, oh well, I'm upset, but I'm not gonna say nothing. And
That's
just
what I was
go
gonna
away.
say.
And
Is
this
that
thing is you
healthy?
and your partner's gonna be like, oh, okay. Like I don't know.
but she
So
called
I
her
don't know.
shot. Like she literally backs off, and he's literally eating, screaming into the void, calling her crazy and insane. Like
You know,
he couldn't like she said he couldn't de-escalate. Um,
I do feel
yeah,
that the fact that she's a woman wanting, begging her partner for acknowledgement, like that is a justifiable thing. I feel like in that regard, like I don't know, I don't see anything wrong with that. Because especially if she feels that she's so genuinely contributed to his success. 'Cause that's like a very common thing too. How many women out here? I'm sure you guys have talked about it and have talked to your friends about it. Women out here who, go and do a fixer upper guy, and it's like, oh, I caught him when he was nothing, and now look at him, he balling because I was
Mhm.
able. I fed this nigga for 2 months, like, and he didn't have to buy food. He had to buy gas, and like that's all me. So now that he's a CEO, that's me. We're CEO. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's where she was coming from, and like I do kind of respect that because it's like if you did genuinely contribute, and like I said, I got up to the bass scene, like when he like thoroughly debunked everything she thought that she did. It's like, well, oof, well, where do you stand then, sis? I mean, but you still have a contribution. I mean, like you're still his partner. You were still there for him while creating this thing. So mm,
It's
I feel like he deserves some sort of acknowledgement.
Mike, you're
The
staying
fact that he
neutral or
acknowledged
remaining
other
neutral?
people, though, I think is also part of the problem. Sorry.
Yes.
Mike, you still not commenting?
No, no, no. I wanted to let other people go. I mean, my gut, to be completely honest, is that she's wrong about this. My gut.
Fair.
Obviously,
Why?
it's super complicated, and the arguments that they get into, some of the nail drivers that both of them say, the fact that he just, like you guys are saying, like, she didn't really want to have this fight. I respect like, as much as I won't don't like it, like if people say I'm upset, but they don't want to talk, I think that's their right. Um, and you gotta wait. You gotta give him time. I don't necessarily believe that she didn't want to get into it with him. I think that she would have just not responded. I think by the end, she's just like not responding to him anymore. Um, but I don't know if I necessarily agree that she could have been upset that he didn't thank her. That's fine, but this is his man's job. Like, this is his art. And if it were anything else, like if I didn't know how movie ceremonies go, where they thank their beautiful wife or whatever, I would think it's craft. Like, you're supposed to thank the people directly involved, like not the people that helped you 5 years ago to reach this point. Like, you can, but I don't know if it's necessary. Um, and from the whole speech, but at the same time, I think some of the things that he says to her are completely degrading. The whole thing about going into, oh, well, the character wasn't built on you, and this is where I got this, like, that wasn't, to me, that's not right. I think he should have just acknowledged her from the beginning, and maybe been truthful about maybe some of his thoughts of why he didn't think to thank her or whatever. Um, the idea that it just their 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 feelings got poisoned by just like these hurtful knife digging, like, comments, um ruins it for both of them. But I think my gut is that he is right, that like she should have, if she was really upset, she should have handled it differently in terms of like the approach, I guess. But I don't think being my main point is that I don't think being upset over not thanking her is warranted. I know that's probably like not not what everybody would agree with, but
It's okay.
if you're just thinking of like, okay, she helped him get to that point, absolutely. And you're just putting everything else aside, like everything that she make him that mac and cheese when he got home and all that stuff, and how she's been there for him and stuff. I do If you put that aside, like, I don't think that that is a worthwhile like cause. Like, you didn't thank me in your speech. Like, I just to me, it's he doesn't have to. Like, that's what he does for a living, and that's his craft. Like, he can thank. It's a thank you speech. You can choose who you want to thank. Um, but
Hot take.
hot take.
Jamal, did you go? I don't remember if you said your piece.
I guess I think I kind of did. I'm still like I said,
Oh yeah, you
I'm
said you were
still
torn. Yeah.
yeah, I'm still torn. Um, I kind of it's a mix of both because she was talking about wanting to be a part of it, wanting to be selected, and then it was a more of a wanting a thank you, but then also like kind of like Lynn was talking about that. Oh, like the CEO kind of wanting thanks for like everything in and out of the project that led him to the point he was at. She wanting that was I don't know what the thank you represented to her or what he should have been thanking her for. That seems um a little bit much. Um it also I don't know, it seemed like he I don't know. I guess we're supposed to read into the idea that he kind of I don't know
Spit
how
out.
to I can't. I'm losing my train of thought. You
All
go.
right,
Well, can I
I'll
just
wrap it
say
up.
this before you like as we
Oh,
like wrap up, I guess?
sure.
Like this conversation would be so interesting if we were having it with more women because like this whole idea of like your contribution in a relationship is a whole separate like kit and caboodle. Like
Mhm.
she was upset for a reason, and I feel like as a woman I do get it because like we out here in the background, tying up all the strings and shit that keep a lot of men going, right? The fact that if she had made macaroni and cheese, niggas would have starved, straight up and down, right? Things like that. And women do, we understand like most men need a lot of women to function or need a woman to function in a way. And like things that we think about, men don't think about, and we feel that's valuable. And I feel like ultimately she just wanted acknowledgement for her, I guess, like contribution to her acknowledgement of his needs. You know what I mean? And like that kind of support, like that background, just like life support kind of stuff. And I think that that is still equally as important as your best boy and the grip and everybody else on set.
Mhm. Hands
But
down, he should have. I just want to say he should have backed her.
yeah,
Like,
But you're
I
saying he's
but I
not wrong for
absolutely
not doing it.
but
right.
No,
I
I
think that's
kind
a
of give that to Mike. Yeah,
he
sit down.
used but she used the film as an expression of her feeling of like lack of unappreciated in the relationship. So like like I said, the idea of like them keeping score, um, like something that she held on to, um, and felt unappreciated throughout. Like she obviously this is a feeling she was feeling throughout the entire process that this film was being made. Yet she kind of held on to it, as far as we know.
Mhm.
Like this was that last speech was the big revelation of like um, just wanting to be appreciated and acknowledged for like what she means to him.
I'll be quick.
So
You always rep for your day ones. Okay, she's been holding him down. You got to give her the thanks. She should have been number one. That's my piece. That's all I got. We could talk about this movie and other things, especially Kamal's opinions on the We CEO comment, because I know that he got lit up when Lynn started talking about the marriage dynamics and building together. You guys need to
oh
have another. We need to have a whole other episode where we talk about divorce and the fallout and who built who and who was owed what. That's a great episode. But for now, episode 24, I think. Then we're gonna wrap
yeah,
it up. We want to thank Lynn for joining us this week. You've been great.
yes,
Thank
If
you.
you have any
thank
parting
you.
words, you want to plug anything, we got 7 viewers. That's something.
That's people. Hey, people. Hey, 7 viewers. And plus, because like I'm speaking, man, more viewers. Watch
Coming.
my friend's podcast, y'all. I'm gonna plug my popcorn business, Best Stui Pops, BEDSTUY Pops. It's delicious. And yeah, dude. And parting words, just live life, be happy.
Yeah,
Love
we
it.
should put the link in the description.
Yeah, we'll get all
I
the
will do
links
that.
in
I
there.
will link it in the description.
Perfect. See you
But thank
guys
y'all for
next
having me.
week.
This was really fun.
All
Yeah,
right.
thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you so much.